Hello and welcome. My name is Scunny, and I'm a City Skylines player based in the UK. I focus on relaxed, creative building that balances the aesthetics while exploring the game's mechanics. Today, we'll enhance our bus services by analysing their efficiency, improving their frequency, and optimising stop placements. We'll also address any bottlenecks and improve traffic flow around the bus station. Additionally, we'll extend the underground metro network to overcome geographical barriers, and by the end of the episode, resulting in increased public transport use. Hello and welcome back to Middlesfjord, the European city set on the Windy Fords map. Today I want to take a break from the Middlesfjord Fields development that we've been developing alongside the BRT system and take a closer look at our public transport infrastructure and our bus lines and metro lines to see if we're getting the most use out of them. It's currently 6 PM, so let's just pause it there. It's winter and half the city is covered in snow. And take a look at our public transport. So we have the bus station and the train station here. So this is kind of like the main hub of the city. And let's take a look at our transportation info view. So we currently have a really good use of public transport in the city. We have in total around about 144,000 journeys a month. Most of those are coming from buses, which is around about 80,000. But we do have a substantial tram and metro network, both pulling in around about 50,000 altogether. So opening up our transportation overview, I'm going to start with the buses and I'm simply going to sort the list by least used to most used. And we can see straight off the bat that we have one line called the Farm Shuttle. This is a line that we have running in our farming district. So this was set up to serve the businesses in the area to bring commuters in from the train station and help them get about their business. Unfortunately, even though we've set the ticket price to free, we're not really seeing any usage at all. We can even have a look at individual stops here. There's just no one waiting. I don't think there's anyone on any of the vehicles either. We're okay to remove this line and free up some buses. And there's no point in having a service run that's completely unused. So let's go ahead and remove that line. Going back to our hub, and we can have a look at our transportation lines again. Next up to look at is the bus station to hospital route. So this one currently starts downtown in our bus station, and then it follows this avenue out of town through this industrial hub, and then it finishes at the hospital here. I think one of the reasons why this one isn't being used as much anymore is because we'd created the new BRT system along this road, and it's probably taken away some of the usage. And if people need to get to the hospital, there's much more direct routes along this road at the back here. So with this line, I'm not entirely convinced that it's unneeded because we are seeing around about 9% usage. But what we can do is we can just simply reduce the number of vehicles assigned. I'm just going to set it down to 3, and we can come back to this maybe in the morning rush hour to see if it's getting any more use. And while I'm going through this process, I also want to change a lot of the buses to the CO, the Colossal Order branded buses. This just ensures that all our buses are the same color, while we can also have the lines different colors. I think it just looks a little bit more natural if buses in the city use the same livery. With this, we can achieve that. Since this is quite a short route and they do pass through the station, I'm going to change it up to the electric bus. You need to ensure that if you're using the electric bus that they have somewhere to recharge, either at the bus station with the upgrade or maybe even the bus depot. I'm not entirely sure about that. Yeah, this one is a day line only. I'm happy with that. I don't think there's much need for a bus going around this area in the night. I think the BRT system actually runs at night, so we can just keep that as is. So talking about our BRT, let's have a look at the local line. So this is one that starts downtown at the bus station. It runs past the high school and the medical university. And we also have this park and ride office area here. And then we have it pulling into the Northford Fields development. And it finishes up here at the Evergreen Farming Town. And there was a couple of edits I wanted to make before we continued. So we currently have this local line just coming straight through. It has a stop here and a stop up here just to serve some of the industrial areas. But I would like to bring it round closer to the train station so that people in the Middlesfjord Fields estate, instead of taking the bus downtown to get to the train station, they can come up here and jump directly from bus to train. And at the moment, yes, they could just walk down the street, but I think given this is a local route, we can make the journey a little bit easier for them. So I'm going to grab the line tool, grab one of the stops, and bring this through. So by moving the line to the front of the train station, it's extended the distance and therefore increased the number of assigned vehicles. Since we're getting around about 70-75% usage, I'm quite happy for the assigned vehicles to be 19, so we'll keep it like that for now. Now let's have a look at the BRT Express. So this one is not getting as much use. So this one starts out of town in Hundy. It stops here at the edge of Evergreen. It just skipped through Northfield Fields. I have considered maybe putting a stop in between the community here. I think we'll probably have a look at doing that when we build out this area along the water. But currently it stops here at the office park and ride service. And then after that, I believe it just goes straight down to the main bus station. So we are getting around about 30% usage. So we could probably reduce the number of assigned vehicles on this line as it doesn't seem to be needed. I'm going to drop it down to 6 and we'll just see what it looks like after a few in-game days to see if it needs updating. The next line I would like to look at is our bus station to West Woodbridge line. So we're seeing we're getting 102% usage on this. So this one starts at the bus station, it goes through the central district, over the Grand Bridge, and then into West Woodbridge, and then it finishes up here in the Valley View area. And if we take a look at the line, we currently have 12 vehicles, so we can probably bump that up a little bit. Let's change it to 15, so it's a 25% increase. And let's just have a quick look at the stops to see if they're evenly spaced out. I can see we've got a couple of stops here which are quite close to each other, so let's have a look to see where they are. So there's this one and this one. Yeah, you can see when I drew this, I just didn't consider the short distance between them. And yeah, this just is not efficient. So let's have a look at where the stops before and after are. So before this one, it's the bus station. And then afterwards, it's this one down here. So you can see we've got quite a lot just far too close to each other. The optimum distance for buses does vary depending on the density of the city. So in very dense areas, I would say aim for around about 200 meters. And then in more rural areas or in suburban areas, probably aim for around about 400 meters. Having a look at this, I think I'm going to remove this stop here since it's near quite a busy junction and we can kind of free up some of the movement in this area. And then I'm going to remove this one here. Grab the bus line tool, and then I'm simply just going to deselect by right clicking. So let's jump back into the line info view. And you can see we have a little bit more space between the stops. A few that are quite close to each other here, so let's just review those. Yeah, again, I think I was a little bit ambitious with the number of stops I wanted on this line, so I'm going to remove a few. So we could remove this one and this one. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, because then if we keep this one, it serves this area here, and if we keep this one, people can exchange onto the tram network, and then this one appears to be in a good place as it is. Actually, no, I think we might remove this one as well, because people can walk to the stop down here. There's not a lot of properties being serviced in this area. This is the problem if you run bus lines along the edge of a neighborhood, is it only really serves the community from one side. It's better to have buses going through the neighborhood so that you have access from both sides of the line to get the maximum use out of it. So let's grab our bus line tool. Let's just remove some of these. I'm going to get rid of that waypoint as well, because I don't think it's needed. It appears the bus is taking a different route to the way it would on the way back, but I can't really see any issue in that. So I'll just keep it as it is and let the game work out the optimum path. And yeah, much better. You can see there's a lot more space between the stops now. And so hopefully that allows for a more rapid service, and we can clear out some of these backed up busier stops. There's a similar issue with our purple line here, bus station to the east end to West Woodbridge to the airport. So this one is a crazy long line. So it starts here at the train station, goes through the town, along the top of this community here, through Upper Woodbridge, and then I think it finishes up at the airport up here. So it's really good to have a line that serves the outer communities, so that people are not having to travel to the center of town and then going out again, and they can move from suburb to suburb. But I think this line is suffering from some of my early planning mistakes with my stop placement. So you can see here we have a lot of stops that are just far too close to each other. So we have a look at where these are here. Yeah, we've got this road here called Underhill Street, and we just have stop after stop after stop pretty much on every block. And you know, these blocks are probably only around about 50 meters wide. So we could probably get away with having a stop every 3 to 4 blocks instead of the number we've got at the moment. So I'm going to reduce the number of stops on this line as well. So we've kept this stop here, which has, you know, serves this radius. This stop here serves this radius, and then we've got this stop here that kind of serves this area here. If we look further along the line, I think we can probably add a stop. I don't see any stops in this area. There's a waypoint, so there probably was a stop originally here. So I'm just going to remove the waypoint. I think we actually probably want the stop closer to the bridge so that people have access to the area down here. So I'm going to add a couple of stops just past this roundabout, and then have a look at where else we've got stops on the sign. So there's one here serving, there's a little shopping district. There's one here, one here, here. I think we can probably reduce the number of stops in this area too. So grabbing the bus line tool, I'm going to remove this one and this one here near the tram stop. So there's a tram stop here that if people were on this bus, they can jump off. And yeah, as we can see, we've given this line a good clear out. There does appear to be a large gap here. I think that's probably the airport if we have a quick look. Yep. And we don't really have anything in between the airport and the first stop, so it kind of makes sense not to have much here. The next line that appears to be getting a lot of use is the yellow line. So this is the bus station, BS for bus station. So let's have a look at where this bus line goes. It starts at the bus station, it goes through the east end, and then we have it coming through the mountain, and then along this small neighborhood here, and then into Newport. This is a really long line with not a lot of stops in part of it. People can access the downtown using the metro system, and the bus is a alternative route. I'm not sure why people are choosing to take the bus rather than the metro. It might simply just be the people that live in between that are using it. Could be the people in East End simply using it to get to the bus station. Having a look at some of the stops, this one appears to have a lot of people waiting to go towards the bus station, and this one looks quite busy as well. So this is one that's in the Newport town, heading through the neighborhood here. I think what we can do is we can reduce the number of stops on this line to make it a little bit quicker and see if that helps, but we might want to consider breaking it up into 2 smaller lines. So we've got 3 stops on this riverbank here. I think given the low number of residents in this area, we probably have too many bus stops. So I'm going to remove a couple of them. And I'm going to remove these 2 as well. And then we'll just keep this one in the middle here. Actually, no, I think I'm going to keep these here because we do have some medium residential here, and I think you can see there's actually quite a few people waiting at that stop. But for the low residential area, I'm simply just going to have one in the middle so people can walk there if they need to. And having a look downtown, how many stops are there here? So yeah, we've got, there's a stop here and a stop here and another one here. I think that's just too many, so we can remove this one in the middle, just too close to each other. I'm not sure why I was thinking at the time. I just probably wanted to get maximum coverage, but at the cost of having a slow service, it's just not worth it. There's one here by the Newport train station, and then there's one that terminates at the Newport ferry service, which I think is fine. I'm happy with how that route looks. The next one I want to have a look at is also one that goes to Newport. So this one also starts at the bus station, surprise, surprise. And then this one goes up this mountain road, past this quarry here, makes a little diversion just up to the top end here. And then it goes past this small little riverside village, over the water dam, and then into the town of Riverport. Yeah, this is a disaster of a line. Look at how many stops we've got here. They're just far too close to each other. And I think the main issue is in this suburban area here. We just have too many stops for a low density area. So yeah, this line certainly needs a diet. And in fact, I think this is one line that is worth splitting up. I'm going to keep the line going through the Newport area, and then I'm going to construct a express route that cuts a lot of this out. Okay, so this now only serves Newport. Does that area have a name up here? I always forget what it's called. Barton. This line has been much reduced. The length is over a third less, and we have now 8 vehicles assigned, and this service serves mostly just local people that need to get from the suburbs and our little office retail park here into the Newport area downstream. I wouldn't worry about all these strange routes that the bus line is taking. You can fix it with waypoints, but eventually the bus will find the most efficient route. It's just because I've got the game paused and the vehicle pathfinding mechanic is probably just a little bit confused right now. So yeah, let's just grab the bus line tool and we'll construct the express route, which can also serve the quarry here and this small riverside village here. I do want it to start at the bus station. So let's see where we had that spare slot. So let's turn these back on. I see we've got a couple of free bays now. So this one is free. Oh, let's change the color first. Yeah, that should do. Okay. So let's start that here. And then let's hit up some of the stops that we had originally. So I'm going to pass up on this one because we've got a stop here, which is near the tram stop. And then I'm going to have another one just on the edge of town here. And then let's go into the mountains. I actually didn't like the placement of these stops. So I'm just going to place a temporary waypoint here just to remind me to add a stop there. And then we'll add one by this small little village here. And then I think I just want to terminate it at the top here. Let's just run it into this stop and then return it back to the start. I don't want this to be an express route that people choose to take instead of the metro or the train. I just want it to be able to hit up some of the communities and businesses in between the two towns while not having too many vehicles assigned to it. And we'll finish it there. So let's go to our bus service overview and let's find the bus line. So this one goes to the bus station, quarry, and then let's just reduce the number of assigned vehicles to 7, and let's change that ticket price to $2. And we already have the CO bus assigned. Lovely. Now I'm just going to quickly run through the rest of the lines. There don't appear to be any with major issues. I'm just going to button them up and be back with you shortly. Okay, so a day has passed in game. We're now in August, so we were in September. So a full day is a month in game. We were making edits in the evening rush hour the day before, and now we're the day after and we're back at 6:15. So if we have a look at our transportation info view, we can see that we have actually in fact decreased the number of citizens using public transport per month. However, that's expected because we did remove quite a lot of bus stops from the line, so access isn't as plentiful. But what I find interesting is the usage for the trams and the metro has increased. So the metro has gone up around about 4,000 per month and the metro around about 1,800, which is a really good side effect to streamlining our bus lines because it means that people are using forms of transport that are not only just quicker but more comfortable, and typically they don't add as much traffic to the road because the vehicles themselves have a higher capacity. And another thing I went to monitor over the day was the usage, and our usage for the buses the previous day were a little bit all over the place. We had a few that were over 100% and then we had a few that were at 0. However, now that we've adjusted the number of vehicles and removed some of the unnecessary stops from the buses, we have a pretty good spread from 19% for our least used line up to around about 86% for the most used line. Interestingly, both going to the hospital. And if we have a look at the BRT that we've been working on over the past few episodes, they have quite low usage now, 38 and 32%. However, I did observe through the night and the morning that they had quite a high usage rate, especially the intercity line. That in the morning had almost a 90% usage. So these statistics aren't the most reliable. So if you're gonna take on a task like this, I do recommend just sitting in this window for a day in game and just monitoring these numbers. And if they kind of go a little bit high, add a few vehicles. If they go a little bit low, maybe remove a few vehicles. So let's unpause the game and just let it play for now. Next up, I'd like to have a look at the trams. I think these are in a good place. They're all around about 50%, 60% usage, 25%. So yes, we could probably adjust them, but I think I've looked at these not so long ago, and I'm quite happy with the way these are being used at the moment. Whereas our metro lines could do with a little bit of TLC, especially the Lambert line, which is the shortest line that we have. And we only get in, this bounces around 5 to 20% usage. And I'd say the other one is similar. However, you can see with the passenger numbers that the Marlborough line is moving around about 1,000 passengers at the moment, where the Lambert line just hasn't got anyone at all riding it. And it's probably down to the distance. So the Marlborough line, if we take a quick look, starts over here in the Newport region, down into the centre of town. It goes through the mountains, and then is an extra stop around here in the East End, and then it goes to the train station, up to our university district, and then finishes off at the airport. So it covers a fair distance across town and moves lots of people. Our other line is much shorter, so I think it starts down here just before our central business district here. And then the next stop is actually really close and possibly too close. And it's also at the train station. And we had to bury this station down a ramp so that we could cross over the underground station that comes with the train station. However, this seems to work. There's lots of people coming down here and using it. I'd love it if you could get a metro station that could allow passengers to move from one platform to another or within the station itself, but I'm sure that will come as the game becomes more mature. So if we have a look at that line again, the Lambert line. Yeah, it's only got one other stop, and it's up here at the medical university. And I had thought about extending it up here to the vehicle factory. However, here we already have the tram line coming up here and our BRT system, so I think this line terminating here kind of makes sense. We could potentially swing it round into the top of Barton, but again, there's not enough density in the area to justify such a high cost project. So if we have a look in the other direction, where we could potentially move this metro forward, we have the bay, where we've got, this was originally all industrial, but now we've got the research or the disease control center, along with some mixed use and high density commercial. And I mean, this area of South Cliff is quite densely populated now. We've got around about 20,000 citizens. Or we could swing it round and head towards the Woodbridge. Woodbridge is quite a long district. It holds just under 18,000 people. Connectivity in this area isn't the greatest because you've got this cliff running pretty much along the entire district itself, with only a few areas to travel up by either road or footpath. So perhaps we want to kind of bring it down here. This area is already served by a tram. So this tram starts down here in the lower part of East Woodbridge, comes through the centre, comes up behind the cathedral, and then swings up to the bus station. I think this central area here, which is probably one of the oldest parts of this neighbourhood with the old wooden bridge, we have this unique building, which is the Epicurean Garden. Usually complaining about not enough customers, but at the moment they seem to be doing fine. We also have, I think, one of the city's only hotels, the Brag and Roost. You see that it sells lodging. I don't really want to disturb too much here because I quite like the format of the streets. We've got this petrol station here, and then we have this kind of one-way system with the trams and the buses coming down here. However, there is a bit of space on the riverbank that we could potentially have a look at. I do need to consider that the depth of the river might prevent us from placing the metro station. So we've moved a block down the road closer to the more built up area, the upper part of East Woodbridge, and we have this junction here with the park on one side and this commercial building here, which is this is a 2x2, but the lot in which it sits on is about the right size for a metro stop. So I think this is probably a really good place to put it. It's bang in the middle of the district itself. We have residents up here, and then we also have really good access to the tram stop, which is just here on Thornton Street. And this will allow people to come in from both directions of this neighborhood to the center of town. They might want to do a little bit of shopping, visit a friend, or they can come to the new metro stop and take a super quick train into the downtown. So let's grab the subway station and plop that in here. I'm going to just do this freehand so we can get the placement perfect. And we've got a few bushes there. Let's see if we can preserve them. There we go. Look, we've already got a nice little hedgerow running alongside the stop there. Maybe we just remove a couple at the back here so people can walk in if they need to. Let's just see where this person is coming. I think we might have found the perfect spot to let people in. That's fantastic. Look at this road back here. I need to fix that. Let's just keep it as green grass for now. Maybe even just put in a tree, because trees are always nice. Okay, so now we just need to plug in this station with the rest of the network. So we're aiming towards the business district down here. Alternatively, we could set a new line up if we want to come up past the cathedral. But I think access to this area isn't that difficult for the residents, whereas going up the cliff itself is more of a challenge. And if we can create better access along here, I think it's going to benefit people a lot more. Let's go into the subway window and grab our double subway track. Now, it's always quite difficult doing the underground trains, so I'm going to use some of our snapping tools to help. I'm going to use the geometry and the 90-degree tool, and that should connect right into the end there. Let's make sure we're underground, and I'm just going to see where the station is. So we're gonna have to swing the track down and around, and I think we could possibly do that by using our complex curve tool. Let's turn on the guidelines to help us. So I'm going to come up to here, and then we need to find a guideline to snap to. I think there's perfect, and then bring this down and around, and yeah, that angle looks perfect to me. So that curve is gentle enough that I imagine the vehicles will be able to navigate fairly easily. So now we just need to grab our subway line tool, and let's grab the end of the line and bring that all the way to our new station. And now that we've removed the line, the stop from this station, we need to add a couple of stops back on. And there we go. We should be able to see that we've got people waiting. Let's have a look. So we haven't got anyone waiting at the moment. Let's just see where the trains are. So now it's got 2 vehicles assigned. Originally there was just the one. We've got very few people using it at the moment, and it's probably still catching up from all the changes. Looks like we've got our first person going in. We have a couple of dogs. Yeah, so this is a really good spot. Like I said, we've got the tram stop over here, but we also have a whole bunch of buses coming to this area as well. This is kind of like a natural transit interchange area in itself. So I think this is probably the best addition to the line as we can make in the city so far. Next up, I'd want to review the population to see how many children we've got living here. So there's a total population of 5,400 just about, with 1,000 children, 1,000 teens. So if we have a look at the school, there's currently 411 students enrolled. So we don't need to add an upgrade there. When it comes to high school, I really don't feel like we could justify putting a high school out here because there's other areas of the city that don't have a high school yet, which have a larger population of students or potential students. So if we have a look where our high schools are, we've got one here which is at capacity, another one here which is almost at capacity. It's looking quite healthy in terms of attendance, and we've got another one here. So you can see they're all kind of like surrounding the main town itself, and this one is at capacity also. So they're the three that we have in this city itself, and then I believe we've got another one in our port town up here. I think having one on this side of the river, this side of the city, would be beneficial, either in Upper West Woodbridge or in Lower West Woodbridge, where we've got around about 1,000 teens there, and 3,000 teens there. So I'm going to have a look to see if we can add a high school in this area. I'm going to check where we've got public transport connections, because we're possibly going to have to remove some zoning to fit this high school in. Alternatively, we can build it out into the forestry area, which I think is a viable option, but it might be useful to have it more centrally located. We've got this school here, so it could be multi-purpose, this area with the elementary school and the high school here. These are only low residential homes, so if we were to lose a few of these, it wouldn't negatively impact our population. Up here is no good because we've got mostly row homes, and we also have the college here, so this area probably has more college students living here. But up here, we don't really have anything other than a couple of elementary schools and just a whole lot of medium density. We do have a field here which we could possibly build on, but I'd wanted to preserve this as kind of like a recreational ground for the area, since it's quite densely populated and built up, and there's not a lot of places you could go and, you know, play a game of football or go for a jog in the park. I mean, we do have the Riverside Park, but it's very hilly and probably great for a little picnic under a shady tree, but sometimes you do just need to have some nice flat land. I imagine this place would be a really cool spot to maybe put in a market or a carnival. So let's try keep this and have a look for a spot more suitable. So just trying it out for size, we've grabbed the high school, and if we did want to replace some of this low density homes, we're looking at taking out quite a few blocks. I think Grove Street on the bottom end would need to be shifted as well. So I think trying to squeeze it in is going to prove too challenging. So I think I'm going to go for option B and reclaim some of this forestry up here and remove some of this low density housing. This is still a decent spot because we've got the buses coming through here, and we also have a tram line coming on Florence Street. I'm gonna have to pull back some of the forestry industry we've got in this area. Let's grab our specialized industrial area tool and just right click to delete some of these nodes. Let's have a look at the high school. Do we want to place it directly onto the road? I don't think so. We probably want to create an access road that comes off the back here. Kind of give some space at the front if we ever want to add a few buildings or possibly create some gardens. So I'm going to start by removing some of this zoning. I'm going to just use a normal 2-lane road. You could use an alley for this, but I think we want to keep some sidewalks, as this is going to be heavily pedestrian used road, and I don't want there to be any conflict with vehicles. So I'm going to grab the continuous road tool just so we can get nice even corner. So it's 48 by 48 there. Let's pull that out straight. I think we're fine just having this single road connection here. We're not going to be building a lot in this area, so I wouldn't really classify it as a cul-de-sac. I would probably just say that this road is included in the high school estate itself. So let's grab the high school and let's position that nicely on this road. Let's close this info view by clicking that. And let's see if we can line this up nicely. So we've got access to the car parks to consider as well. That's a good spot if any. So we've got access to the left side car park but not to the right one, so let's just grab our alley for that. Snap to the side of buildings, and I'm going to use the right angle and the geometry. Use the curve road tool, continuous road tool. I like that one because it gives you a symmetrical curve even when you can't see with all those numbers overlapping each other. And there we go. Now it's added a bunch of crossings. I'm just going to remove one of them just so that, you know, people can still get across if they need to, but it doesn't look like someone's gone crazy with the white paint. So there's the new high school, and yeah, we've already got the first student attending, and we do have some extensions. The school library. So this improves the chances of graduation, and this one increases the capacity. I don't think we need to add either of those yet. And the sports field is just too large. We have an example of the sports field up in the central high school already, so I don't think we need to add another one. I mean, saying that, there is space for it. I mean, this is undeveloped land. If we get to capacity and we have to add the extension wing on, we could possibly add it on then, because then it's actually fits the size of the school, the size of the population. But for now we'll just leave it at that, and yeah, I'm just going to decorate this front area too. Okay, so they all look nice when they grow up. I also added this pedestrian crossing here so that people or students getting on and off the bus can easily access the high school without having to walk all the way down to the next closest junction. And they can use these nice new paths and gardens straight into the high school. So we have a look, we've already got 78 students enrolled. That number will grow as the simulation progresses. So quickly having a look at our bus station here. I do get quite a lot of traffic jams in this area, probably because we're using pretty much every single bay of the bus station. But traffic's holding up at the moment. It usually clears up if there is an issue after a while. We've got lots of traffic management, so there's no turning here. All 3 lanes, or 2 lanes, have to go straight on, and then there's a dedicated turning lane down here. There's restrictions here, so only buses can access this road here, so that prevents a lot of traffic queuing. Only buses will queue up here to turn down there. And then up here, we don't allow trams to turn up here. We originally had a couple of tram stops here, but this was just causing too many issues, so we have them almost do like a jug handle maneuver, and they will come up to this junction here. It's a little bit quieter. They'll come round on this bus road, and there's a stop up here, and this is a dedicated kind of public transport exit here, so buses can either exit on this side to head to that side of town, or they can exit on this side to head north or exit here to head back into the center of town or the East End. But I really like to see traffic in this area. I feel like this actually gives me an actual real true to life experience in the game, because when I first started building this city I was really shocked at how little traffic there was in the entire game, but seeing this here just makes me really chuffed. So I'm really happy with the results of today's session. We've managed to streamline our buses, add a new metro station, and see the potential of public transport in our city, helping it grow and prosper. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I look forward to catching up with you next time. Thank you. See ya.